Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is A.J., and I'm coming to you with another video. Now, someone else asked me a question. Well, I get a lot of questions, and I'm just kind of going down the list. So, for this week, I'm answering a question that's very simple. And the question was, as a transgender person, how did I choose my name? And it's very simple. So, actually, with my name, I actually had my name for a couple of decades, maybe 25 years, because it was my pen name. Anytime I wrote something, whether it was poetry or prose, or whether it was a book, I would sign that particular name. I would sign A.J., A.J.A.Y.E. And A.J. was just a play on my initials. So with my dead name, it began with an A, and my last name began with a J. So I just put A and J together and added A.Y.E. for A.J. And I did that, like I said, a couple of decades ago. And that has been my pen name ever since. So when it came time to choosing a name for myself that I knew would represent me as a non-binary trans-masculine person, it just made sense to put my pen name as my legal name, mainly because it fits. It fits me. I'm used to hearing it. I had to get used to writing it. That was the only thing. When I was using it as just a pen name, I never really had to write it all the time. It was just when I wrote something. I'm an actor, I'm a writer, I'm a playwright. So whenever I would write something and use that name, yes, I would write AJ. But now that it's my legal name, I had to literally learn how to write it all the time. So, but I've gotten a lot better with that. But I mean, it was just a no brainer for me to say, hey, my name has always been AJ. People have been calling me that. Some people only knew me by AJ. So why not just make that my legal name? So that's what I did. Now, as far as my middle name, and let me just say, you don't have to, as a transgender person, you don't have to choose a middle name. That's your choice if you want to have one. For me personally, I don't have a middle name. I have two middle initials. That's it. What I did, just out of respect for my mother, because my mother, at the time of my birth, so meticulously chose to call me what she called me. So what I did, instead of totally doing away with my dead name, I just made my dead name the first initial in my middle initials. And then I made the middle name that my mother gave me the second initial in my middle initials. So I don't legally have a middle name. I have two middle initials. And, if someone asks me what they mean, I could say anything. I know what they mean because they are the given name that my mother gave me at birth. But they are just initials now. So technically, to everyone, they're just initials. They don't mean anything. But I know what they mean. And it's just out of respect for my mother. But for all intent and purposes, my middle initials are just that. They're just initials. But my first name has always been my pen name. And it was just a play on my initials. Now, there are some people in the trans community who, they don't change their name at all and they feel fine about that. Whether it's a name that can go either way, whether it's a neutral name, a unisex name, or whether it was just a name that they liked and they chose that represented them the most. They don't change their name. I do know some transgender guys who have chosen a name and they kept that name and was called by that name and lived with that name for a couple of years, and then as time went on they realized that name doesn't really represent me anymore. I want to change it to this. That's okay too. There is no right or wrong way to have a name, to choose a name for yourself. And it's okay to re-choose a name for yourself. You don't have to stick with that one name that just jumps to you or jumps out of your head. And please don't let people influence you on what you should be called. It is your choice and your choice alone, because it is the name that you will have to live with. And if you're legally changing it, that's the name that you're going to be called for the rest of your life, unless you choose to change it again. But it is your choice. Please don't let people sway you into what they think you look like, or this name will fit you well. No, that's not their decision. It is your decision. And don't let people say, well, why did you choose that name? Well, that's kind of weird. It's not their decision. It has nothing, your name has nothing to do with anyone else. It has to do with you, how you choose. Your name is only for you. How it makes you feel when you hear that name is for you, period. Okay? And, and I also know some trans guys who they just run a few names out to other people for a given amount of time. I've known one particular trans guy that I know. He actually called himself something different every month to see which one felt better for him. And he did that, I think, for maybe 6 months. And then when he got to the end of the 6 months, he was like, the third name. The third name, it felt better. It made me feel more like me. And that was fine. And then he went with the third name. And that was totally fine. There is no set way to choose a name for yourself. As long as you feel comfortable with whatever name that you choose to stick with. You can try as many names as you want. And it's okay. It's totally okay. Now, I will say that once you find the name that most represents you as a trans man or a trans masculine person, that you look into going through the process of legally having it changed. A lot of agencies and a lot of different places, they'll ask you your birth name and then they'll ask you what your preferred name is. And sometimes that can be a little daunting for people, because a lot of people don't want to look at or write their dead name ever again. So for someone or for a particular application or whatever to tell you to put your birth name, unless it's when you're changing your name, sometimes you get that kind of dysphoric feeling, and no one wants to feel that. So I would say, once you find the name that best represents you as you are as a trans masked person or a trans man, to just have it legally changed. And the first step in doing that is to go to the civil court and to get a court order for a name change. Now, I'm not sure about any other state, but I know in New York, that's about $65 when you file the paper. You come with certain documents, and you can look online to find what documents you need to bring with you when you file the paper. You bring certain documents, they'll look at them, you fill out the application, you pay the application fee, and here in New York, it takes about 4 months to get your court order back. And I was told that mainly it's because that there's a back order on court orders. Like, there's a long waiting list. I actually went January 4th of this year, and they called me to come pick up my court order at the end of April. So about 3 to 4 months stress. Now, I have found out from some other of my trans mask friends that in their state, it took about 3 weeks, So it's from state to state. So find out wherever you live, find out how long it will take, so that way you'll be prepared if it takes longer than expected. And then once you get that court order, then you're set to be able to change your name legally in other places and on your other legal documents. And the first place that you go, once you get your court order, the first place that you have to go, it is mandatory. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. You have to first go to the Social Security Administration, because literally they are the link to everything else. So you have to go to the Social Security Administration, and when you go to pick up your court order, they're going to ask you how many copies you want, because each copy is going to be stamped with a seal, and then it's going to be signed, and then they're going to put the receipt on it, because you have to pay a certain amount for the each court order you get. Here in New York, it's $6 per copy, and you figure out based on the different agencies that you have to change your name with. That's how you figure out how many copies you're going to need, because you're going to need to send a copy to each agency because they need to see that court order to say that this person's legal name is now, and then they're going to change it in their system. So make sure you get enough copies of that. But as I was saying, the first place that you go is the Social Security Administration. You go there, you fill out the application, you show them the court order. They will change it right then and there in the system, but it'll take 7 to 10 days for you to get your new Social Security card. But once it's changed there, while you're there, they're going to give you a paper receipt just for you to see that they have changed your name, and so that you can take it to the next agency, which is DMV. DMV is going to have to see that receipt from Social Security so that you can get your name changed. And let me just say that when I did it, when I had my name changed on the court order, I also changed my gender marker. I don't know if every state has that, but in New York, you have the ability to change your name and gender marker at the same time with the same court order, and that's what I did. So not only did I have my name changed on my other legal documents, but also the gender marker. But Social Security, for whatever reason, does not have the ability. Now, I'm a trans masculine person. I don't identify as a trans man because I am non-binary. Social Security does not have the ability to put anything other than male or female. My gender designation is X. They don't have the ability at Social Security to put X. So that kind of made me upset because I'm like, every other agency has that ability except for the one agency that really, really matters. And they keep telling me to call back to check up to see if they made changes to that rule. I've been calling like every month, and this has been since, I believe, April, since I got everything changed. They don't know when the change is coming for Social Security, and it's frustrating. So I just told the woman, choose one. I'm like, I'm not going to put myself in a box. I'm like, you choose what it is. Don't tell me. And the lady, she was very kind. She was like, okay, I put a sex designation in. I'm not going to tell you what it is. They don't put it on your card anyway. It's just your name on the card with your Social Security number. But, they have it in their system as whatever, and it's whatever. Yeah, so, but at DMV, they do have the ability to put X if you choose to put X like I did. Otherwise, you can use M or F depending on what it is you're choosing for your sex designation. But yeah, you have to take that paper receipt that Social Security gives you along with your court order down to DMV. DMV will change it in the system that day. You'll take a new picture. They'll give you an interim driver's license, and then that lasts for like 21 days or something like that. And within that time frame, you will get your new license with your new name and gender designation, if you chose one, in the mail. After that, you can do passport, you can do birth certificate, and any other agency, school, credit cards, whatever. You just contact each and every one, let them know that you have a court order for your name change, and then you send it to them. You can send them the original, you can send them a copy, and then you'll be able to have it changed at each and every one of those different agencies. And that's it. And it's a waiting game. You just have to wait for them to send everything back. Now, we'll say when I changed my name and gender marker on my birth certificate, it was a little stressful because I found out, and I was born in Baltimore, Maryland, and I found out in Maryland that they don't have the ability to put X on your birth certificate. It's either M or F. And I was I was trying to figure out why I wasn't getting my birth certificate back. It took about 3 months, and I called them, and I'm like, uh, I didn't get my birth certificate back. I put in for my name change and my sex designation, and they looked, and it kept saying it was pending. So I had someone look into it, and they said it's because they don't have the ability to put X as a sex designation. So they said, what we're going to do is leave it blank. So they sent me my new birth certificate with my designated name, with all the regular information on it that was on my old birth certificate. And where it says sex, it is blank. So, according to the state of Maryland, I have no gender. Um, Whatever. I guess. I don't know if that'll cause a problem in the future, but I'm gonna still follow up with them to see whenever they're able to put X, then I will put in for another birth certificate so that can be on my birth certificate. As of now, where it says sex or where it says gender, it is now blank. But yeah, on all of my legal documents, everywhere where I needed to have my name changed, no matter what agency it was with, it is now changed to my legal name, which is A.J. And my full name is A.J. A.L. Jenkins. And that is on all of my legal documents. Let me just say, if you have two middle initials like I do, except for your driver's license and your passport, they are only allowed to put one initial, because I was told that they don't have room to put two initials everywhere. But my passport has both initials and my driver's license have both initials. So I think those are the most important two documents. So that's okay. But yeah, with my name, it was just a name that I've always had. And it just felt right for me to still be called the same name that I've been called for a couple of decades, which is A.J. So like I said, it was a no-brainer for me. I love my name. It fits me. And people have adapted to it. Those who weren't calling me that have adapted to it. Sometimes they slip up. And I do have people who just call me A. You know, it's easier for them sometimes. So that way they're not slipping up to call me my dead name. And that's fine too. As long as you're not saying my dead name, I'm good. But yeah, that's how I came about my name. Again, I will say, please do not let anyone influence you as to what you should be called. That is your choice only. And be happy with your name, and if you're not happy with it, then by all means change it. No one's going to think you're strange or weird, and if they do, that's on them. Your name has nothing to do with anyone else. It is your name, and you can change it as many times as you want to. And when you finally come upon the name that best suits you, then you can change it legally. Um, but yeah, it I don't think it's going to be that difficult for those who are looking to change their name, and to have their legal name. I don't think it's going to be that difficult. Once you come into who you are as a trans person and really start to live your life as a trans person and get familiar with hearing that name, and it's gonna feel great, not just you saying it, not just your family and friends saying it, but seeing it on your documents. It's just very affirming. So please don't get discouraged if you haven't settled on a name yet. It is totally fine. The evolution of us as humans, as trans people, is a slow process. You don't have to rush into everything. You don't have to rush into what you want to name yourself. Just be patient with yourself. Give yourself some grace, and just let things flow naturally and easily. If it comes easy, it comes easy. If it doesn't, flow with it. You know, just make sure that once you settle on that name, you go through all the processes to change it legally. So that way, it's not your preferred name. It is your legal name. All right. So that is how I came about my name. I've always had it, and now the name that was just my pen name is now my legal name. So yeah, that's me. That's AJ. That's my time. That is my story. That's my video. So I want you to do me a favor. I want you to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And if you have any questions about my transition or transitioning in general, let me know. I'll do a video on it. If you have any more questions, you just ask and I will do a video on that as well. I do have a list of questions that I will be doing videos on, so stay tuned. And again, hit that notification bell and hit subscribe so that you can see when my new videos are posted. Until next time, you guys, have a great holiday, and I'll see you again soon. AJ out.